All right. Well, for more on former President Trump's campaign, we are joined now by Trump Campaign Deputy Communications Director, Caroline Sunshine. Caroline, great to have you here today to break this down for us. Let's go straight to these polls. I want to put up the Fox News poll, which shows a two-way matchup in the battleground states. There you go. This is, let's see, this is a preference among women voters who prioritize the economy. I think we have a poll that shows head-to-head matchup. In any case, in the battleground states, we know that this is a virtual dead heat, with Trump leading, I think, in Wisconsin by 1 point. Now, this is a little bit of a surprise to some folks, but would you say this is because this is a bump that Kamala Harris is getting because she's the new candidate? The Democratic base, some of whom felt they might have been saddled with President Biden, now they have a new candidate. Is that what's going on here? Is this just a snapshot in time?
Well, we're watching the Democrat Party try to become unburdened by what has been, by removing Joe Biden from the top of their ticket and, of course, trying through selection rather than election to place Kamala Harris at the top of their ticket without a single ballot or vote being cast in her name. But it's not going to be that easy to become unburdened by what has been, because, as we know, Joe Biden's record is Kamala Harris's record. And in fact, she's even more dangerously liberal on most of the issues. So what we see happen in the polling, especially in these battleground states, as you mentioned, a lot has changed in the last 3 weeks for the Democrat Party, having a very difficult time unifying themselves, let alone having hope at unifying this country. But one thing that hasn't changed is the issues that are most important to the American people. In fact, it's gotten worse for the American people on the border, on the economy, on inflation. And that's no thanks to the Democrats or the Democrat Party, who are wasting time having, like I said, difficulty barely being able to unify themselves. What we know is that the more voters get to know Kamala Harris, the less that they like her. The liberal mainstream media, the same liberal mainstream media that told the American people for the last 4 years that Joe Biden was fine, he was sharp as a tack, he was doing cartwheels, of course, concealing his cognitive decline from the American people. That same liberal mainstream media is now cheerleading and carrying water for Kamala Harris, quite literally trying to rewrite history, for example, on her position as the borders are, claiming she was never the borders are, when, of course, we've seen in Axios' own words, it was actually the press just a few years ago that was all too gleeful to give her that name. There's a reason the media is trying to do this. The liberal mainstream media is trying to do this because they know, too, that when voters find the truth about Kamala Harris and how dangerously liberal she is, the bottom really starts to fall out.
Caroline, to your point there on this favorable media coverage that she has received, let's listen to what President Trump has to say about that media coverage. Take a listen.
But the fake news is talking about lying Kamala as if she's the savior of our country. That she's so brave. I've never seen a turnaround like this. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, she was the worst politician in America. Now they say, isn't it amazing? Look at her. She's so beautiful. She's so magnificent.
So there you go. There's the former president's take, but at some point, as you mentioned, she is going to have to defend her positions. I just want to pull a couple of them up. Let's put these up. She was in favor of Medicare for all, abolishing private health insurance, taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants. She's also the co-sponsor of the New Green Deal. She called for a ban on oil, gas fracking, prosecuted oil companies, citing climate change. So very quickly, she's going to have to defend these positions. And when do you think we will see a debate?
Absolutely. Well, like I said, the liberal mainstream media giving Kamala Harris the Hillary Clinton treatment. A lot of her policy positions might be popular with journalists who live in New York and San Francisco. However, they're deeply unpopular with people who live particularly in the Rust Belt states. As you said, Kamala Harris, in her own words, would like to ban fracking entirely. She'd like to defund ICE. She's the border czar who's never been to the border. Her both current and former Border Patrol chiefs said they've never had a phone call from her. Of course, that's out of negligence,
Caroline,
not incompetence.
What about the debate? Kamala Harris says she's ready to debate. The president says, well, let's wait and make sure she's the official nominee. What do you think about that?
Well, absolutely. As we're seeing, it is selection, not election. Kamala Harris isn't the nominee just yet. You have to remember, the last time President Trump was on a debate stage, the Democrat nominee ended up having to drop out because President Trump's debate performance was so dominant. So when the Democrats get their act together, President Trump would be happy to have the honor of defeating not just one Democrat nominee, but two Democrat nominees in the same year, a historic feat.
Well, I think America definitely wants to see another debate. We'll look to see when that's going to happen. In the meantime, Caroline Sunshine, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.